Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you how to make the Oriental scale. The Oriental scale is a unit that can be made, and then we link all of the units together. This is a very beginner project. Anyone should be able to learn this. As long as you can open and close jump rings, you should be able to do this. First, I'm going to walk you through just the simple formation of the scale in these larger size rings, and then I'm going to move down to this smaller size bracelet and pretty much show you how to make the entire bracelet. This is stretchy, so this is made to fit over your wrist. I will just mention that this larger one, this can only fit a 6.5 or an 8-inch wrist. You can see that you need 2 triangles in order to make this work and connect at the beginning and the end. So you can see this is a very long stretch, and this is the reason why it can only really be made in 2 different sizes that are that will work with, you know, the most common wrist sizes. And then this one is a little bit more forgiving. So with 2 triangles shown here, you can see that we can fit wrists that are about, you know, an inch difference. So I think this will fit like a 6.5, 7.5, and then maybe an 8 to 8.5 inch wrist. This is not an exact inch. So, you know, just be aware that, you know, changing sizes is slightly more difficult. So if you use the smaller version, this is going to give you a lot more leeway. The larger version is for you beginners or people who like chunky bracelets, so that you could learn this at a little bit larger size. I have used a lot of colors in this, so don't be intimidated by the supply list. It's actually a very simple supply list. It's just that I used 3 different colors of jump rings and 4 different colors of O-rings in it, but you can just add those together, get a count, and know what you're working with. I just want to show you too that I show how to make this 2 different ways. And the reason why is I am also putting out another video this week with our 3-dimensional pumpkins. And these are real fun to do. You can see these are made in the larger size, so they are not difficult, although they are 3D. So I think, you know, most people will be able to follow along and learn this. But I also wanted to show different ways to make this so that you understand that this can later be made into a sheet form. So you can see that as we have more and more connected, this is a really cool pattern. And you can also do this in all metal rings. And I just wanted to show you a couple of, this one is a capture that I did around a triangle. And I think this is the favorite one that I did because a lot of times these rhinestones have a backside that's different from the front. But in the black glass, the triangle just worked out really great. You can see that Oriental scale in here and see that shape in there, okay? And then this one, I used our Navette beads, and I actually connected the rhinestones into this pattern. But again, you can see this Oriental scale in here that I used. Okay, so you can do a lot with this. This is a really basic weave. Lends itself really well to 3-dimensional forms, flat forms, all sorts of stuff. So, you know, learn it so that you can then use it again later in some more advanced projects. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get us started with this video, I'm going to run you through how to make one of these Oriental scales just really quickly with the larger sizes. Now, first I'm going to do this the easy way. So I'm going to pick up 2 and then 2 more O-rings, so that's 4 altogether. Close the jump ring. Okay, let that fold out so it's a 2 by 1 by 2 chain. Then I'm going to take another jump ring, pass it around 2 of these O-rings, pick up 2 more, close the jump ring. So right now we're just continuing our 2 by 1 by 2 by 1 by 2 chain. Okay, now we're going to turn this into a triangle. So I'm just going to take this 3rd jump ring, and I pass it through the end O-rings and bring them back to the beginning. And when you do this, it doesn't really matter how your rings are situated, because we're gonna flatten them back out and adjust them as we need to. So just get the ring closed, and then we'll worry about how things are laying. So you can see I'm just stretching it out, just yanking on the sides to let all these O-rings pop into place in orientation with the jump rings. Okay, so this is the easier version of how to do this. Why would I not do it easy? Well, because sometimes we're using all metal. Sometimes we want to create this weave in sheet form, and we won't always be able to do this. And that's why I show you the easy way and the hard way. Okay, so I'm just gonna take, this is gonna become my center O-ring, and I just pulled up 3 sides of this triangle. You can see that the rest of this, here, let me pull this down a little bit. I lost it. I was trying to show you the bottom, the base of it. Okay, so I just kind of smoosh these together and try and grab them so that I can pull this O-ring down. But see how these 3 bottom ones are just laying flat down here. And I'm just pulling it over the 3 top ones. Okay, and once I pull this down over where the jump rings are, this all lays out flat, and this becomes an Oriental scale unit. Okay, so when you have these little parts that you make, those are called units, and we're gonna make another unit in just a minute. So this is the first color scheme. When you see the supply list for this, don't get super intimidated by it, because of course I did this in several colors, and you don't have to. You could just do this all in a lot of the same colors. Okay, so now my next set, I actually think I have the wrong color out here, but on screen, hopefully it looks right. So this one is a separate color, and I'm gonna do this one the hard way. Okay, so I'm gonna take an O-ring for my outside row, and I'm gonna pop it through the center of what we want to be our center O-ring, and I'm gonna pick up another of the outside O-rings. So you can see I have a top and a bottom now, okay, that's going around this. Now I'm gonna pick up one more while I have my jump ring pulled around to this side, and then I'm gonna pull my jump ring through, up through the center, and pick up another. Now, I'm not suggesting you do it this way. I just want you to understand when you see it this way, that this will be the same thing, okay? So that if you're working on a sheet form later, that you kind of understand what's happening with the top layer and the bottom layer and the middle layer, and how you can get there without just pulling over O-rings over top, because maybe this pair is connected over here and you can't lift it up. Okay, so I'm gonna take another. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pass down through a pair of these O-rings that's a top and bottom row. Okay, and while I'm on the back here, I'm gonna pop one O-ring on, that'll become the bottom. I'm gonna pull this up through my center O-ring, and then I'm gonna pick up another O-ring. So being that this is very beginner chainmail, I know for the more experienced, this seems like it's a no-brainer, but when you are starting out with chainmail, all these shapes happening can get very, very fiddly in your head real fast. Okay, so the more you can like lay your work down and just really look at the orientation of things, you see what we want to have over here. Okay, so you can see, oh, we got 1, 2, 3. I've got one jump ring left, and where do I think that needs to be? So obviously we need a connection right here in the middle. Okay. So once again, I'm going to pass down through a pair of these. Now it looks like I'm going to be coming around this turquoise ring, but really once I come around the back, I want to make sure that I'm staying inside that turquoise ring and coming up inside of it. And then I'm going to pull this ring down over top of it. Okay, and then we'll have our scale finished. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this all in the much larger size. We're gonna move on to the small size to actually make the bracelet. And then I'm just gonna show you here that we're just gonna link these rows together. So because we're just doing a scale, we're just linking the rows together because these are not really the sizes that we would need if we wanted to form a sheet with this. So we're just looking for like the easiest way to connect things. So I'm just simply going to connect things on the outside. I'm going to pass through the top and bottom row and the top and bottom row of this other one. Close. You see that pinches that all together and connects them. Okay, and then I just look for their other common side and join those. Okay, so this is very easy stuff. I'm gonna move on to the smaller version and show you how to make the bracelet. It's a little bit more fiddly when you work with small materials, but it's exactly the same thing as I just showed you, so have no fear. This is a beginner project this week, and I just wanted to really illustrate this out because there is also another project I'm putting out this week, which is a 3-dimensional item that is made with this same formation. So I just wanted to make sure that you could understand it in full and really know what you're doing before you start making a 3-dimensional form. Okay, so let's move on to making a bracelet in these smaller size rings. So in order to make this chain, you can see that I've laid out my parts that I'm going to be using. And we're basically just going to make a 2 by 1 by 2 by 1 by 2 by 1 chain at first, and then we're going to turn this into a triangle. So I'm going to pick up my first jump ring, which I pre-opened. I'm going to pick up 2 O-rings and then 2 more rubber O-rings. And what I like to do, okay, got my pliers in my hands. I've got not enough hands and too many rings. Okay, so what I like to do is just make sure that when I'm going to close my jump rings that they have gone up over the horizon of the rubber O-rings. That way I can usually grab onto the jump ring pretty easily without accidentally catching on any of the rubber. You don't want to grab any of your rubber with your pliers. You can easily tear it. Okay, so 2 by 1 by 2. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to continue on. So we're going to pass through 2 of the O-rings in the working chain and pick up 2 more O-rings. Okay. And then I close my jump ring. Now I'm going to take 1 more jump ring and now this time I'm passing through 2, but I'm going to turn this into a triangle. So I'm going to come back around to this first pair of O-rings and just make this a triangle. Okay, and again, make sure that that jump ring comes up over the horizon of the O-ring. And then I can go ahead and close. Okay, and then you see we have a triangle here. Okay, so this triangle, I'm going to pull the top 3 O-rings of this triangle up. And this is where rubber makes this much, much easier than working with all metal rings. Because all we're gonna do is take these rings that I pulled upward, and I'm going to kind of just smoosh them together, technical term, smoosh. And I'm going to pull, oops, I'm going to pull this other O-ring over top of that center. Let's see, did I get, oh, I only got two. Let's see. I missed one. My technical smooshing was not working for me that time. You can pull the bottom ones down too if you need to. Okay, this time I'll try and make sure I get over all three. And you can use your pliers a little bit to pull these through. So I'll kind of show you that, but I'm just going to be very, very, very gentle. Okay, this isn't working at all for me. This works a lot easier on the larger sizes, but I have to admit when I go down to the 7.4 size, it takes me a little bit to get in the groove with this, but here we go. I finally have it. So you just get to see everything doesn't work all perfectly for me all the time either. Okay, so this is our little Oriental scale unit. This is what one unit of this is going to look like, okay? And then we're just going to keep making units of this until we have all the units that we need to link together for a bracelet. Okay, so before we go on to the next part where I'm going to show you how to run this together, I wanted to redeem myself. Because I had such a hard time getting that little O-ring over the top. So I am going to show you the other way that I do this when necessary. And you can see I'm pulling these three O-rings up to the top. Now I'm using a little piece of bead wire, but you can use anything. You can use a little piece of string or what have you. Basically what I do is I pass this through two of these O-rings, and then from the inside to the outside of the third one, okay? And I pull this up, and you can see it's pulling on all three of those O-rings. And I just use this like a needle, and I put my O-ring over the top, and then I can very easily pull it down over all three O-rings, and then I have my shape that I need, okay? So that's just another way to do it. Use any kind of string, little piece of wire. Just make sure it's not too thin where it might tear the O-rings. But that's another way to do it, and it does make it a little bit easier with this smaller size. When I'm doing this in a larger size, it's really probably not worth getting the string out, taking that time. Okay, so you notice I have these laid out. And here, let me pull this over just a little bit so you can see it better. Okay, so you see that I have these laid out with one down and two up. So I have a triangle. So this one I have one side up and two sides down. You see I'm alternating the direction of my triangles. And they're the same on all three sides. So, you know, it's just more that there's, you know, 1 point down and 2 points up on the first one and the reverse on the second. So all I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pass through two of the O-rings from my first triangle and then pass through two O-rings in my next triangle. I'll close the jump ring. Okay, and then I'm just going to go to the two next points that can match up. Okay, so I'll pass through two O-rings over here, two O-rings over here, and that's it. That's our first connection. I'll close this jump ring, And I've linked my first 2 triangles together. Okay. And now I'll do that with the next one. I'll just pass through 2. Pass through 2 of a new triangle. Close the jump ring. Okay, and now I can see where my connections are. I want to keep everything going in a straight line. So I'm going to pass through here and then bring this new triangle over to it. Okay, and that'll make sure that we keep going in a straight line. Okay, so then I'm gonna connect down here and up here next time. Okay, just like that. Easy as it can be. Okay, so just start linking all of your rings together. And I don't think that I want to do a separate segment showing how to finish this because it's just so very easy. So I do have a little piece up here just to show you that when you get to the end, it'll be like this, and the beginning like this. Okay, so you're just going to simply link these together here and here, and that's really all there is to it. So of course you'll be bringing it up and around in a circle, but it's very simple to complete this, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this project, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much.